You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors with me. I'm Louise, the founder of Standby Method Acting Studio, and every week I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid, working, unstoppable actor. Because you can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready? Hey, unstoppable actor. I am super duper bloody excited to dive into today's episode with you, as always. Before we get started, oh my God, it is so windy outside today. You might even be able to hear the wind like bashing around. I went on a run this morning and I know I'm only 5'1", so I'm not very tall, but the wind literally nearly blew me into the road. I was so scared. Anyway, that is not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about why no one has cast you yet and what you can do about it. Because one of the things that I hear from aspiring actors all the time is, just tell me how to get the jobs. Just tell me how and where to get the acting jobs. And I know that's super important. Obviously it is, because, you know, this is what you want to do for a living. But there are three key things that I want to teach you about today that could be a reason as to why nobody has cast you yet. And these three key things are things that our students have done that have helped them get to the front of the queue, or at least get further down the queue in the acting world. Now, so many aspiring actors think, oh, I'll just wait till after the pandemic is over and then I'll think about starting my acting dreams. And I'm here to tell you that that is such a bad idea. It is such a bad idea because everybody else is going to have the same idea. And you will already know that the acting industry is a very noisy, crowded place. There are absolutely loads and loads and loads of people who want to be professional actors, and they are all going to have the same idea when the pandemic is over or when restrictions lift, and they're going to think, right, I'm going to get started as well. And it's going to get even noisier and even more crowded. So, you know what? I say it all the time, but an acting career is doable, and it is doable even during a pandemic. Our students have proved this. During the pandemic, they have landed work in television series, they've landed work in films, they've landed agents. You know, all sorts of amazing things have happened, and this has been during the pandemic. So that is not an excuse to put off starting your dreams. There is no time like the present. You must start your acting dreams now, because time is going to pass anyway. So you might as well do something useful with it. And I know how much you love acting. I know how passionate you are about it. I know that it really just makes you feel super duper alive and it makes your soul sing. So why not just get started now and start getting ahead of the game rather than leaving it till the last minute and then panicking because everybody else has got this exact same idea. So I want to teach you then these three key things that our acting students did that allowed them to get cast during the pandemic and allowed them to get further ahead with their acting dreams, because they're really, really important. You can copy these things, you literally can, and they will make such a massive difference. So the first thing was that they changed their thought process. Can you guess what the biggest blocking thought is that most aspiring actors have? In fact, probably all, I would say. I would take a good guess and say all. Well, that thought, that blocking thought, that inner critic thought is, oh, I wonder if I'm good enough. Am I good enough? Now, everybody at some point or another thinks this, but they decided to replace that thought with something else, because that thought is a bugger and it will hold you back and it will stop you taking action on your dreams. If you keep playing that thought over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in your mind, then you are just not going to take any action, because you will start to believe that thought. That thought will make you feel down. And when it makes you feel down, there's an emotion connected to it and it will hold you back. So they decided to change that thought. And this is going to sound a bit woo-woo and a bit out there, because I really don't know whether other acting schools are teaching this. Now, they might be, I don't know. So you can correct me if you're wrong. But they decided to love themselves. I know it sounds a little bit radical, right? But they decided to start loving themselves and know their worth and know that they are worthy of being in this industry and knowing that there is a place for them in this industry. And it all starts with loving yourself. Mindset is so important. If you're in our Unstoppable Actors group, if you're listening to this and you train with me on the 10-week method acting program or the youth program, I always bang on and on and on and on. And it must get boring. I must sound like a broken record at times, but I bang on and on about the triangle for success. And at the top of it is mindset. And the triangle points towards mindset because you could be the most skilled actor in the world. You could be the most talented actor in the world. But if you do not believe in yourself and you do not know your worth and you do not love yourself, you will not put yourself out there in the acting industry. What you will find is that you'll start making steps and you'll do little things like maybe you'll get some new headshots, or maybe you'll look for castings, a couple of times or a few times on casting sites. Maybe you'll start fiddling around with your social media, but then you'll stop and you just won't do anything. And then there'll be a big time period where you do absolutely nothing. And, usually life takes over then. And then a lot of life commitments come up and it makes it difficult to get back into the acting world. And then later down the line, you start feeling unhappy because that acting makes you feel happy. It makes you feel like no other job in the world can. So then we start that cycle up again of faffing around on casting sites, faffing around on social media, faffing around with some free classes here and there, and doing little bits and bobs and feeling good again. Oh, but then am I good enough? Oh, am I really worthy? Is this really going to happen? Those thoughts kick back in again and they make you feel shit. And because they make you feel shit and you keep thinking them enough and you get stuck in the cycle of thinking the thought, feeling crap, thinking the thought, feeling crap, thinking the thought, feeling crap, then you just stop taking action again. So then you go back to your day job and life takes over again and your life commitments take over. And then it's like, oh my God, I hate this job. Or I'm just really not happy in life. Oh, acting, I really, really miss acting. And so the cycle continues. And because you really don't believe in yourself and you don't know your worth and you don't love yourself unconditionally, then you just keep flip-flopping around with acting and you're very inconsistent. Now, I know you don't mean to be. I know you don't. But you have got to start believing in yourself. You have to know your worth. That was the game changer for our students. A massive, massive game changer. Because when they knew their worth, it was non-negotiable that they were going to show up every single day in the acting industry. Yes, even during a pandemic. Yes, even during the 1,000,001 lockdowns that we've had. Those lockdowns were not an excuse at all by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the other thing that they did, this one daily action step that you can do, and it is so bloody smart, so smart, is they started to figure out what other actors were doing during the lockdowns. They started to just have a little scoot around on social media, on casting sites, and just putting their ear to the ground and finding out the motivation levels of other actors and what other actors were doing and other aspiring actors. And they figured out that a good majority of them were really, really lacking motivation and stopped taking action with their dreams. Now, that's no shame on those people because everybody deals with things differently, and that is okay because we're all human and we're all individual. But because our students had figured out their worth, they now spotted an opportunity. They were like, ooh, other actors are not really doing that much, so I can now slot into their place where all these other thousands of actors were being really proactive before the lockdowns and before the pandemic, and I can get in there and I can start finding more opportunities for myself, and I'm going to be more likely to either get cast in things or get taken on by agents because now there's less competition. The industry is less noisy, it's less crowded, and that is such a smart step. Such a smart step. So what they started doing, other than keeping their ear to the ground and finding out what other actors were doing, is they started applying to castings even more so than before. They started applying to their dream agents even more so than before, and they did not give up. So I want to ask you the question, are you doing this? Are you applying for castings day in, day out, come rain, come shine, pandemic, no pandemic, life happening, life not happening? Are you showing up every single day and applying for castings, or doing some market research on your dream agents, or applying to your dream agents? Are you doing that? Because that's going to be the difference. Now, if you're not, I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to make you feel bad, but I am here to give you a kick up the arse and say, you need to do this. If you want to start moving forwards, you need to do this. Now, if you know that your mindset is not in a great place, before you start doing this, I would say, look, just work on your mindset first. Start finding that love for yourself. Start believing in your worth. Start knowing that you are worthy of a place in the industry, that you are deserving of acting roles just as much as any other actor. And then once you're in the midst of doing that mindset work, then start showing up daily. I can promise you now, if you combine these two together, oh my God, so much is going to change. How you show up in the industry will completely change, and you will give off an energy to other people that's really, really exciting for others. So you've got to combine the mindset work, knowing your worth, with showing up every single day, and also keeping an eye out on the industry and what other people are doing and spotting the gaps in the market. That's what we say in the business world. We spot the gaps in the market, and there is a place for you. There really is, but you've got to believe in yourself. So you could, whilst you're working on the mindset stuff, be researching your dream agents. What exactly do they want? What do they want in actors? What are the requirements for even sending an application out to them, never mind setting up a meeting? So that's what you could be doing whilst you're in the midst of the mindset work, if you know your mindset is a little bit shaky, which it can be for all of us from time to time. And then once you're really into the swing of things and you're really feeling these high vibe emotions and you're really believing in yourself, then start showing up every single day, because the way you present yourself in cover letters will just be completely different to when you're not believing in yourself. So that's step one and step two. Now, the third thing they did is something that a lot of aspiring actors dropped, again, because of lack of motivation. No shame again, everybody's different and we all go through this thing called life differently, and that is okay. But they kept up their training. Now, of course, during a lockdown, we've had to do training online. It's not ideal. We all prefer to train face to face. Of course we do, because we like that in-person human interaction. We are sociable creatures. But our students did not moan about this. They got on with it because they knew that they were still going to be learning, they were still going to be improving their skills, and they were still going to be making mistakes in the classes, but that's where they were going to be learning and picking themselves back up, ready for when the restrictions lift and ready for when the industry picks itself back up. So they weren't thinking in the here and now about, oh gosh, I really don't feel it, I don't feel motivated. I mean, obviously there were days where they didn't feel motivated, but they replaced that with discipline. But they weren't thinking about the short-term goals. They were thinking about the long-term goals of knowing exactly what it is that they want to achieve with their acting dreams and putting in the foundations now. And that is why they kept up their training. And that was something that they could share with these agents that they were applying to. It's something that they could share in their cover letters to the the castings that they were applying for. They were continuing their training week in, week out, come rain, come shine. So that's something that you are going to have to do as well. You see, directors want their life made easy. They really, really do. And if you're that actor who has got a toolkit full of skills and full of tools that you can draw upon no matter what, and you're not going to be reliant upon a director to bring a good performance out of you, because you can do it yourself and leave space then to collaborate and co-create with the director, then they are going to absolutely bloody love working with you. And when they love working with you, that means they're going to shout to their other director friends and other industry bigwig friends that they've got, and they're going to be more likely to recommend you to others, and they are also going to be more likely to want to work with you again because you've shown up, you've produced the goods, and you have brought their vision to life. So you have to keep up your training. It is so important, super duper important. Now, if you haven't been cast yet, there's one of two possible reasons why, and I've kind of already covered it in these 3 steps. So the first thing is, you've got to ask yourself, are you getting yourself out there enough in the industry? And the way you would know whether you are putting yourself out there enough in the industry or not is by you hearing a lot of no's. If you are hearing no, 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 you are putting yourself out there enough. Because we all know that rejection is a massive thing in this industry. We all know that we're going to hear more no's than we do yeses. So if you are hearing a good amount of no's, then well done you. You are putting yourself out there enough. But what that means then is there's potentially a problem with your acting skills. So that takes me back to the third thing that our students were doing, which is keeping up the training. So you would need to start looking into training and getting an expert acting coach on board to really help find out what the problem is. So that's the first thing. Or the other reason you might not have been cast yet is because those worries, that inner critic, those mind monkeys that I spoke about right at the very beginning of this podcast episode, am I good enough? Oh, do I actually have what it takes? Does anybody actually like my work? Is it going to be good enough? If they are taking over and you are not getting cast yet, that is probably because you are not putting yourself out there. You're not putting yourself out there because, as I've already said, those thoughts are taking over and they're blocking you. So rather than working through them, you're allowing them to take over, and then you're just staying in your day job and you're doing that every day. So there's only ever 1 or 2 reasons why you haven't been cast yet. And I've already shared with you the 3 key steps to be able to turn it around. So which one of those 3 steps are you going to put into place now? You don't have to go crazy and try and do all 3 all at once, because you might end up feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And then when you feel overwhelmed, what will eventually happen is you just don't do anything and you start procrastinating. So out of those 3 things that our students were doing that helped them land agents during lockdown and it helped them land paid acting roles, what are you going to do? So I'm going to go through them again. The first one is changing their thought process, learning to love themselves, learning to know their worth, replacing the am I good enough with I am good enough, or I am in the process of becoming good enough. The second one was they were keeping their eye out on the acting industry and what other aspiring actors were doing, and they figured out that they weren't doing loads, lots were losing motivation, so they saw that gap and thought, yes, there's less competition, let's get myself out there now there's less competition, I'm going to be much more likely to get these roles that I've got my eye on. And they were applying for castings daily, they were doing market research on their dream agents, and they were also applying to their dream agents as well. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing they did was keep up their training. Even though it was online, they kept up with it because they knew that there was a benefit in doing this. It was going to make them a better actor. Their skills were going to be much, much sharper. And also another benefit of it was that it was helping them keep up their motivation levels. Because as I've already said to you in this podcast episode, motivation levels are going to dwindle at times because we are human and it's only normal. But keeping up that regular routine of having their weekly classes meant that even when their motivation levels were dwindling, they were replacing it with discipline because they had me, their acting coach, to be accountable to. So, which one of those 3 things are you going to put into action today? Just choose one. And then once you've got one under control, then add in another and get familiar with that. And then when you've got 2 under control, then add in the third one. Now, applications are currently open. They have literally just opened for a place on our 10-week method acting program and youth program. And we are booking places at the auditions, which are held on March the 21st, which is a Sunday. And I am so excited about this. So if you like listening to these podcasts and you want to be accountable to myself, and you want my support, and you want me to guide you with the method to help you improve your skills so you can start landing your first or next paid job and your first or next agent, then check out the link below this podcast episode, which has got the links to both the 10-week method acting program and the youth program, which start in April. And as I've already said, the auditions are March the 21st. So check those out there. But I do want to know which one of these 3 things you're going to be putting into place first. So leave me a comment. Leave me a comment in the comments, and I will be back next week with another juicy episode. I always say this, but an acting career is doable, and even in a pandemic. So go and make your dreams happen, because you can change your life. I have absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. Now, if you did, I'd really love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a review. And if you would like weekly injections of inspiration, you'd like mini method acting challenges to keep you making progress with your dreams, come and join the most supportive acting community online by clicking the link in the notes to help you become an unstoppable actor.